Hello and welcome to UC Today. My name's David Dungay. Today I'm joined by Chloe Emm, Director of Oak Innovation. Welcome to the show, Chloe. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, David. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. I'm really excited for today's conversation. We're going to be talking about call recording within Microsoft Teams. But before we get into that subject, Chloe, do you want to give us a bit of an introduction to yourself and the business?
Yeah, I'm Chloe Emm. I work for Oak Innovation. I'm the growth director here. I've been at the business for about 16 years, but we've been around for about 36 years. And I'm really excited to be talking about our main product at the moment, which is our call recording for Teams.
Fantastic. 36 years, that's a long time for any business to be going. So, well, congratulations on that front. But let's get straight into this first question. What are the big challenges facing businesses looking to deploy call recording within Microsoft Teams today?
So at the moment, I think a lot of people are still finding their way when it comes to Teams. I think the telecoms industry was at first a bit hesitant about Teams because they're used to selling on-premise solutions or hosted solutions. And although Teams is still a cloud-based solution, it was a slightly different setup. So I think, like I say, people are still working out what works best for them. At the moment in the industry, there's a few different ways you can record calls on Teams. You can, press a button to record the calls. But obviously, that's not great because that's manual, and then there's a lot of features and benefits missing. Then you've got the option to record calls almost in a direct routing type manner. So some people might have call recording built into their contact center solution or a phone system that integrates with Teams, or maybe even the direct routing solution itself. The problem with recording in that way, though, is it does mean you only record PSTN calls. So you'll only record calls that go to and from the traditional phone numbers. And when people do take on Teams as, like I say, either as the standalone phone system or as part of a contact center solution, they often find that there will be a lot of Teams to Teams communication or meetings-based communication within Teams that wouldn't get recorded if you're recording, like I say, just the PSTN calls. So what Oak do is we record via the Microsoft Graph API. So we're actually a certified Microsoft partner using their compliant recording Graph API, which means not only do we record the PSTN calls, but we can also record meetings and Teams to Teams calls, both internal calls and external calls. And we can also record the video and the screen sharing as well. All that is optional. So, if they didn't want to record all of those types of calls, like they didn't want to record internal calls, then we can turn that off. But that means that we're covering a much larger range of communication types than some of the more basic solutions out there.
Yeah, so you're capturing the whole gambit of Microsoft Teams communications there, and that
Definitely.
certification's obviously very important. How important is that certification from a end user point of view, looking to implement these kind of solutions? Is that something they need to look for?
Yeah, so you can go onto the Microsoft website and you can see that there are quite a small number of people that are actually able to record in the way that we record those calls. So luckily for us, it does put us on a small list of people to go to for that. And it gives a real flexibility to the customer as well, because where we're recording directly from the source itself, so we're recording directly from Teams, it means that the customer could just use Teams as their phone system and they could still have all those calls recorded, which has extra benefits around compliance and things like that. Or it means if they were using a contact center solution, we're still going to capture all those calls. It doesn't actually matter what type of routing they're using. So if they're using the Microsoft calling plan, if they're using a direct routing solution, if they're using a contact center solution, whatever it is, we're still going to record everything within Teams because, like I say, we're tapping directly off the tenant itself.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of those opportunities for partners then. Where are you seeing the biggest opportunities for your channel partners to really bring these kind of solutions to Microsoft Teams for their customers?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, I think that some resellers were a bit hesitant about getting into the Teams market, and having the option to sell solutions like our Oak Clarify Go recording means that they now can make some extra margin when selling those solutions. So a lot of resellers are being approached by customers now wanting to look at Teams for a phone system, and having options like Oak on their portfolio means they can still make some of those margins they're used to making from selling solutions. But it also means that we can tick every box if they have customers that need certain compliance needs. So it means it's a lot safer and a lot more comfortable for resellers to sell these solutions. And also because we are recording, as I mentioned earlier, using that Graph API, we're recording in a way that has been specifically designed for call recording. So I'm used to selling call recording solutions where we're recording, via port mirroring off SIP, or tapping off ISDN or PSDN or something like that. Whereas because we're recording in, like I say, this way that's been designed for call recording in the first place, it makes the deployment so much easier. I'm in sales, and from my perspective, I want to sell a solution and not have to think twice about it once it's gone out there, knowing a customer's going to be happy, knowing it's going to be an easy deployment. Once a business has actually enabled their Teams tenant to have users be recorded, our side only takes about 15 minutes. So it's a lovely solution to sell, like I say, that ticks every box and still allows resellers to make potential margins.
You mentioned contact center moments ago. Obviously, we're seeing a huge trend in Microsoft contact centers. What are Oak doing on the contact center front, and also how's that helping resellers really get into that space? We're seeing margins and things dwindling slightly on the UC side. Is this a really great avenue for them to get into to really maintain that sort of margin growth?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Selling the contact center solutions on Teams will absolutely help fill that gap when they're not selling traditional phone systems. So they'll still be used to selling peripherals like Oak's call recording, but this means they've got something to still sell in that arena, but they've also got the contact center to replace maybe some of the traditional phone system sales they're used to. So that definitely helps from a margin perspective. But also Oak's got a brilliant API that we started using with some contact center solutions out there that actually help us to integrate our call recorder into the contact center solution. So for example, it could be that you might have a reseller that's got a large business and they have some people that need contact center, some people that are happy just to use Teams in the back end, but in general they need recording for everything. So they can still use our recording for all of those people, whether it's contact center or just general people using Teams as the phone system. But for that contact center, with our integration, it means they can go into their contact center solution. They can look at the reports on the users, so the calls they've made, calls they've received, and they'll actually be able to play our call recording directly from that contact center solution. So they're not having to have that experience of going into one place and going into another place and things like that. It all feels a lot more merged together because, like I say, we've got this API that allows for that.
Chloe, which industries are you seeing the biggest opportunities for partners to bring call recordings to Teams right now?
Yeah, so I'd say our top two at the moment are the financial industry and public sector around things like local councils. So for the finance, it's because where I mentioned earlier with us being able to record all the different types of communication within Teams, it means that we tick the MiFID II box of having to record any communication related to a transaction, and that could potentially cover the need to record internal communication as well. So that's definitely a big one. Plus, we can keep calls for as long as you want, and they're all encrypted, so you could use them in a court of law if you needed to, so no one can say they've been tampered with. But we also cover all the other types of compliance around Dodd-Frank and PCI and HIPAA and FCA and PCI and all of those things. So that massively helps in all of those areas. But we also cover lots in the public sector. I think where there is that relationship between the public sector and Microsoft, that they've been some early adopters of these types of solutions, and we're definitely seeing an increasing number of councils that look at our solution. So as I mentioned earlier, with our contact center integration, we're able to record some staff that might want contact center while also being able to record back office staff within these public sector locations, so councils where they're just using Teams without the contact center for the phone system, but we can still record across the board. So I think those are probably our two strongest verticals we're currently seeing the solution taken up in.
So, I mean, Oak's approach to call recording teams obviously quite flexible, but how are you bringing that flexibility to your end customers? What does that look like?
So the solution can be deployed within 15 minutes. So once you've enabled the users to be recorded within your tenant, it takes us 15 minutes for the solution to be implemented. But also it's really flexible. It's just per user, per month. So you don't have to put up a large upfront cost, which makes things easy. You can add additional users as you go along. So you could start off with a certain number, and as you employ more staff, you can add those staff in. We've got lots of training videos. It's really easy when you do get new starters to work out how to use the solution. And the product itself is just really user-friendly as well. Like I say, we have these training videos, but in the vast majority of cases, you could probably just put the solution in front of somebody and they'd be able to work it out themselves. So, like I say, it means that we've got a product that's really easy to use with really easy to use pricing as well, which is always, let's not pretend that isn't a nice selling point of the solution. And the fact that you don't have to worry about, oh, have I captured this? Have I not captured this? Have I covered this compliance? Have I not covered this compliance? And the fact that we are a Microsoft certified partner means that we have got a certain level of relationship and coverage with Microsoft. So we know about the changes they're going to make before they happen. It means that any solutions they make within their team's product is set up to integrate professionally with our solution. So you're not fudging two solutions together. So it gives that peace of mind to the customer as well, I think.
Fantastic. I think that's a great place to end today's discussion. Chloe, thank you so much for joining me and sharing your insights.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for watching. You've been watching me, David Dungay, on UC Today. If you liked today's conversation, please give us a like and a share on social media. That's it from me. See you next time.